I believe I mentioned before that in high school and college, especially end of high school, then during college, I was feeling the call to the priesthood, but I was not answering the call. I had a few major fears that was preventing me from saying yes at that time. First, I was thinking, well, would I be happy if I wasn't married, if I didn't have kids? And so I was fearful of that, because that was a lifelong commitment there. My second fear was I hated to do anything public speaking, anything in high school or college, and you kind of had to do some public speaking as a priest. So I said, I don't think I can do that. No, thank you. And there were other things as well. I mean, not feeling worthy, of course. But eventually, when I focus on Jesus instead of all these different fears or reasons why not to be a priest, it was only then that I was able to say, yes, okay, I trust you. You're going to help me with public speaking. You're going to help me with being at peace, being a priest all my life. So you're going to help me with that, right? Okay, good, thank you. And so when I said yes, then a great sense of peace came over me, and I knew that I made the right decision, that this is what the Lord was asking me to do. But it's only until I was able to let go of those fears, to focus on Jesus, then I was able to say yes. I was able to then see clearly, because before, my fears and other things were blinding me to what Jesus was asking me to do. We have that in the gospel today. We hear about the story of the blind man, Bartimaeus. And it's interesting, the first reaction to Bartimaeus is basically, shut up, keep quiet. Jesus has a plan. He's going now from Jericho to Jerusalem, and he can't be stopped now. We're leaving Jericho, just keep quiet. They probably knew Bartimaeus, and they probably heard him a lot begging, and so they just said, keep quiet. He doesn't have time for this. But he kept on calling out. And then eventually Jesus stopped. God stopped in his tracks and said, call him. So then, well, you can't really see it there. So we'll look over here. Take courage. Get up. Jesus is calling you. Take courage, get up. Jesus is calling you. So that's a different response at the beginning. Shut up, keep quiet. Now it's take courage, get up. Jesus is calling you. So, and then what's the response then? Jesus, God himself, says to Bartimaeus, what do you want me to do for you? What do you want me to do for you? Remember James and John last week, they first said to Jesus, we want you to do for us whatever we're going to ask, all right? So that was a different situation. They weren't trusting God. They were saying, go according to our plan first. But now God is saying to Bartimaeus, what do you want me to do for you? And instead of asking for something, to get a lot of money, first temptation, I hear a lot of people say at times, I just want to win the lottery, and then I'll give a lot of money to the poor, and I'll give money to church too, and then everything will be fine. But we know that's not the case. Money will not solve our problems. For Bartimaeus, he wanted to see. Master, I want to see. And Jesus says, your faith has saved you. Go your way. He had the choice to follow him or not, but your faith has saved you. And so he followed him. He followed him. What are those things that are keeping us blind in our life right now? What's keeping us blind? Is it some fears that we have? Maybe is it a sin, a particular habit that's keeping us down? We don't feel like that we can overcome this. Keeps it coming up again and again. How about spending all this time on TV, on our phones, on entertainment, watching sports, attachment to sports, just hoping that the Cubs are going to win the World Series or something. Just give me a sign, Lord. Give me hope. Hey, don't put your hope in the Cubs, first of all. Number one. And I was rooting for him. All right, maybe next year. I mean, come on. I remember all these years, I was rooting for a championship for Philadelphia. We had all these 4 different sports teams, no championships since '83. So I was like, 7 or 8 at that point. So it didn't mean much to me. And so then when the Phillies won the World Series in 2008, oh, that was great. But then the next day, it was like discussions on, well, who's leaving? Who's going to be traded? And then different controversies came up. And so it was great for a couple of days, and then life happens. What do we put our trust in? What do we think is going to make us happy? The Lord wants us to be like Bartimaeus. It says he threw aside his cloak and came to Jesus. Threw aside his cloak. Why does Mark put that? Because that's meaningful. That cloak was his bed in many ways, That was his blanket. That was what kept him warm. If you had a cloak back then, you had to keep it. Other people would want to take it from you. He threw it aside and just went to Jesus. What is that cloak that we're clinging to? We think that's going to make us happy. This morning, the Lord is asking you and asking me, each of us individually, what do you want me to do for you? Don't leave that question unanswered this morning. Don't leave Mass today without answering that question. Come up with something specific. Lord, I want this. As we know, it's not the lottery, it's not the Cubs, not the Bears, not anything superficial. Something meaningful for your own life, for your family. Lord, I want to see in this area. I want to see. I want to be freed of this. And then follow Jesus. It may not be an exact miracle right on the spot. You'll have to take some work or take some effort. Anything worthwhile is take some effort, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Jesus said to Bartimaeus, your faith has saved you. Your faith has saved you. How is our faith this morning? Is our faith strong or weak? Do we feel like it's just non-existent? Give that to Jesus. Even if it's just a little bit, or it feels like nothing right now. Give that to Jesus. Allow him to increase it this morning. Don't leave Mass this morning without answering the question. Jesus, increase our faith. Help us to trust in you. Help us to lay aside whatever cloaks we're hanging on to trust in you.